On today's show, we'll talk about Baylor sanctions, MLB action, and keeping up with Mr. Kardashian's NBA moves.
Plus, I'll have the latest on your WNBA draft news and Hurry Up Offense from the Press Box starts now.
Miami Marlins manager Ozzie Guillen has been suspended for 5 games after expressing admiration for Cuban dictator Fidel Castro by saying, "I love Fidel Castro."
After making the comment, Guillen apologized to the city, its large Cuban-American population, and all Latin Americans. Guillen was apologetic and feels the remarks, while offensive, were interpreted incorrectly.
Major League Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig supports the suspension and believes the statement has no place in the game.
And the journey was cut tremendously short for forward Lamar Odom with the Dallas Mavericks. Odom struggled during most of his time with the Mavericks and was even placed on the developmental team.
Odom released a statement on ESPN.com that said, "The Mavericks and I have agreed mutually that it's in the best interest of both parties for me to step away from the team."
And according to sources, much of Easter Sunday was spent working out a mutual separation for Odom's departure. It will be immediate, and subsequently he will be listed as inactive for the duration of the season instead of being fully released.
So, Lauren, who the man?
You the man.
I know.
No, not you, but Yu Darvish, Texas Rangers Japanese pitching sensation.
I guess him too. In his Major League debut, Darvish overcame his nerves and led the Texas Rangers to an 11-5 win over the Seattle Mariners.
And Texas Rangers CEO and Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan said he was aware of Darvish's nerves early on, but looked at his work in roughly 6 innings as very positive.
Despite a huge success in the NCAA tournament and a national title, the Lady Bears of Baylor University have found themselves in a bit of a danger zone. Both the men's and women's basketball teams are facing possible sanctions by the NCAA. The investigation uncovered more than 1,200 impermissible phone calls and texts in nearly 30 months.
Both head coaches Kim Mulkey and Scott Drew, along with their assistants, were involved and are now under investigation. Brittany Griner has also been named in the sanctions, and it is still unclear if whether she'll play with Baylor for her senior season or not.
Well, now our NASCAR correspondent Tony Evans in studio. Tony, the flag's waving for you.
Thanks, Jamal. And while there were no races this past weekend in observance of the Easter holiday, there's still some things to note going into this weekend's races at Texas Motor Speedway in Rockingham. First, in the Nationwide Series, motocross and rally car champion Travis Pastrana will make his nationwide debut at the Richmond International Raceway later this month. The 28-year-old BMX freestyle motocross rally and X Games champion had previously planned to enter the series last summer, but suffered an injury during the 2011 X Games. Pastrana says being a part of NASCAR puts him closer to his lifelong ambition of being involved in as many motorsports as possible. Also making Nationwide Series headlines over the past week was Dale Jr.'s JR Motorsports. The organization is making some changes on top of the pit box. Bruce Cook, who had been overseeing the group's part-time third team, has been named crew chief for driver Cole Witt in the number 88 cars, while competition director Tony Eury Sr. will move into the crew chief role with the number 5 team, reuniting him with team co-owner and part-time driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. The Nationwide Series race will kick off Friday night in the O'Reilly Auto Parts 300 under the lights. Many people say everything is bigger in Texas, and with the Sprint Cup race slated for Saturday night, drivers may experience some big problems. At least that's what history is telling us. Plagued in its early years by poor design, TMS now ranks as one of the fastest and most challenging tracks on the Sprint Cup circuit. And with age, the surface has become wider. There will be a lot of action Saturday night when the Sprint Cup Series also races under the lights in the Samsung 500. Meanwhile, the Camping World Truck Series will fire up this weekend as NASCAR returns to the Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina. The track hosted its last NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event in February in 2004. And finally, some big news this week. NASCAR will unveil 25 nominees for the 2013 Hall of Fame. That's what's happening in the world of NASCAR. I'm Tony Evans from the Press Box. We'll return after this.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Welcome back. The 2012 WNBA draft will take place in April. But what NCAA women's stars are expected to go and where? Well, here's my top 5. The San Antonio Silver Stars are in need of the glory. University of Tennessee forward Glory Johnson, that is. Johnson finished her collegiate career second of all time in rebounding with roughly 1,200. Although her stats suggest she is a defensive player, she can score. And in fact, she's one of the most consistent scorers in women's college basketball. And one of the best weapons of defense for the Fighting Irish this season was Devereaux Peters. She was named the Big East Conference Defensive Player of the Year and finished at Notre Dame with 500 rebounds, 150 blocks, and 150 steals. Simply put, after ending with the 9-59 record, the Tulsa Shockers need Peters. Minnesota Lynx point guard Lindsey Whalen has no backup, but University of Miami guard Shanice Johnson, if selected, can come to Whalen's aid. Johnson has shooting guard stats as she is third in women's basketball history to reach 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists, and 400 steals. Minnesota, with the third pick, should select Shanice Johnson. Shooting 48% from the field and an impressive 79% from behind the arc, Gonzaga University's Kayla Standish can create the perfect storm for Seattle. Strength in offense is what the Storm needs. And the 15 and 19 Los Angeles Sparks have the #1 pick in this year's draft, but despite their poor record, they have an electric lineup that includes Candace Parker, Nikki Asiki, Delisha Milton-Jones, and Jontel Lavender. The Sparks could use another post player, however, and with the #1 pick, Nneka Agwamake has proved herself worthy. While Agwamake led Stanford to a #1 seed, she could also bring the Sparks an abundance of points, rebounds, and defense. It's safe to say that Agwamake, if she remains in California, could spark a flame. I've given you my top 5, but perhaps the biggest phenom this year was Baylor University's Brittany Griner. In only her third season at BU, she has 151 assists, nearly 600 blocks, 881 field goals, and roughly 2,400 points. Much to the dismay of WNBA fans, Griner opted to finish out her senior season. However, there is no doubt that when she declares, she'll be #1. Stay tuned. Hurry Up Offense is after the break.
Yeah, salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday.
Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday, let's move Monday, swap us next Sunday.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
It's time for Hurry Up Offense.
After a brief hiatus due to injury, Derrick Rose returned to the court only to hurt his knee and be out yet again. Is Rose's role withering with the Bulls?
Yeah, his role is withering. Look, they have the best record in the NBA right now, and he came back recently, and they lost the game because he tried to play in his old role, and the team's evolved to a point where they have enough talent that they don't need him to be such a dominant force when he's on the court. Now, he's a very talented player, and can they win a championship with him? No, but his role is, dwindling as he's been out. Players like Noah and Dang are both having career years, and Corver has stepped up in the fourth quarter multiple times for this team. And Thibodeau, he's just grooming this young team to play strong ball.
As you mentioned, they do have the best record, and Derrick Rose has missed almost 24 games, but he is still very much a crucial part of the team. And I don't think the Bulls or Tom Thibodeau are going to get rid of him at all. He still has a secure role there. But I do think by him being out so much, the biggest issue is going to be that cohesiveness or lack thereof between Richard Hamilton and D. Rose. We haven't seen them play that much in the regular season, so I'm just anxious to see how they will fare out in the postseason, in the playoffs.
Good point. Okay, second question. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird are joining each other on Broadway in a play about their friendship off the court. Would you buy a ticket?
I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I would have bought a ticket to see the 87 finals. You know, these guys are legends. So I'd buy a ticket to go see them now on Broadway. They met in 1979 in the NCAA title game, and they have 40,000 points together and 8 championship rings, and that is what they did in the league. So these guys are living legends. Anything they do, I'm going to go buy a ticket and see.
Wow. Okay. They were played to play basketball, not act or have story. I don't care what you did off the court. I wouldn't buy a ticket to go see Cats. I'm not going to buy a ticket to see this. I don't care about your friendship. I care that you played ball. They were some of the greatest players ever. I don't want to go sit down for 2 hours and watch people dance and sing around talking about, oh, we're friends off the court, but I beat you on. I don't care. I don't.
So no magic bird for you.
No.
Well, the Tusks have thrusted Razorbacks head coach Bobby Petrino to step down. Did this order deal too much with his personal life?
It's not that it dealt too much with his personal life, but he shouldn't have been fired. When they hired him, they knew what they were getting. They hired him fresh off his quitting of the Falcons job, and the way he quit the Falcons job with a letter to the players, he didn't care about them. And clearly, that just is a sign of things to come. Look at karma. This guy just got himself in trouble because of things he's done in the past, and you knew what you were getting into when you signed him. So you shouldn't have been upset when he did the same thing that he did to the Falcons to you. And then he wants to cry and talk about he wants to say goodbye to his players. You didn't care about your players in the NFL. No, you can't talk to them.
That is a good point. But I think one of the things that university standards uphold is integrity, and that was one thing that he lacked in this. He was not honest. He did not maintain his dignity. And as a head coach of an organization and moreover a model to your players, that is something that you must have. And although this did not violate any of the NCAA rules, he deceived his athletic director at Arkansas, and he misled everyone in his press conference. So I do think he probably should have been fired, but I think his personal business is his personal business.
You're right, but Arkansas dug themselves a hole when they signed him, and now they're in it. With the NHL hockey playoffs beginning, what team seeded 4 through 8 do you see coming out of either the Western or Eastern Conference?
4 through 8 in either conference stands no chance against the number 2 Boston Bruins. At 49-29 with 102 points, I don't see anyone beating these guys. And much of their success can be attributed to their goalie, Tim Thomas. Last year, he was the Stanley Cup MVP, and in 16 wins, his save percentage was 94. Boston won the Stanley Cup last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took it home this year, too.
Okay, so you're picking Boston to win.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm going with the real winner. Pittsburgh Penguins.
You can't be serious with this.
I am.
You cannot be serious.
They had 51 wins and tied for the lead in the NHL. Just so much talent on this roster. Look at their third-line center. Jordan Stahl, he was last year's Silky Award finalist. And most teams would want him to be, first line, second line. But this guy can focus on shutting down the other team's top lines because of the talent on this roster. And they have Sidney Crosby, who's the best young player in the NHL today. And not forget, Yevgeny Malkin. Seriously, there's so much talent on this roster, they can't lose.
Well, I don't think they stand a chance. But that concludes this episode of From the Press Box.
Wait, From the Press Box is never over without our moment in sports history. On April 11th, 1921, the first live sports event took place on KDKA Radio. They broadcasted a boxing match between Johnny Ray and Johnny Dundee.
The Battle of the Johnnies.
Don't forget you can follow us on FTP_tweets.
And like us on Facebook. And always remember to join us at youtube.com/FromThePressBox.
And don't forget, she's Lauren Fluker.
He's Jamal Williams.
And this is From the Press Box.